This page is the front cover of a magazine issue featuring an N64 Perfect catalog. It highlights the February 2001 issue and mentions features like a Mario Party 3 special sticker and a focus on N64 software. Games visually and textually promoted include Pokémon Stadium Crystal version, and there are also mentions of The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, Konami YY Racing Advance, Pokémon Stadium Gold and Silver, and Animal Crossing. The cover also includes a High Score 2000 and Reflection Year theme, suggesting a look back at the previous year in gaming. This page is an advertisement for 2 Game Boy Color RPG titles. The first game highlighted is Momotaro Densetsu 1 Greater Than 2, a Game Boy Color exclusive RPG described as an adventure of love, courage, and friendship. It combines the stories of Momotaro Densetsu and Momotaro Densetsu 2 into one game with a new system. It was released on January 1, 2001, for 4,300 yen excluding tax. Key staff listed include game director Akira Sakuma, character designer Koichi Tsuchi, and music by Kazuyuki Sekiguchi. The cast includes characters from Momotaro folklore such as Momotaro, Kintaro, Urashima Taro, Yakushime, and others like Inu, dog, Saru, monkey, Kiji, pheasant, Binbogami, poverty god, Jizo, Unchi, Dekataro, and Nekotaro. The second game advertised is Grandia Parallel Trippers for Game Boy Color. It emphasizes that not only Justin, but also 28 characters will appear as companions. It was released on December 22nd, priced at 4,500 yen excluding tax. The page features screenshots from Grandia Parallel Trippers and introduces characters like Pinky and the protagonist Yuhi. The next page is an advertisement for the official strategy guidebook for the N64 game Neo Ranga, the Command Periphery, known as Command Master. This guide promises a perfect catalog of all 80 Neos monsters appearing in the game. The advertisement is presented by Enix and Brainbusters and promotes the book as the ultimate strategy guide, currently on sale. This page is an advertisement for a product called Quote, which is described as the ultimate collection of techniques to decorate the end of this era for all game users. It is advertised as the 2000 Autumn 20th Century Last Preservation Edition and is published by MYCOM MOOC. The advert highlights it covers 17 game consoles, boasting 1,510,000 techniques and a game catalog of 9,982 titles. The consoles listed include Famicom, Super Famicom, Neo Geo, Neo Geo Pocket, PlayStation, PC FX, PC Engine, PlayStation 2, Dreamcast, Mega Drive, Game Gear, Game Boy, Sega Saturn, WonderSwan, Virtual Boy, and Nintendo 64 and 3DO. The price is 1,500 yen. The advert is promoting this product as a comprehensive guide covering a vast range of gaming information from the past. This page is the contents page for 64Dream magazine, volume 53, February 2001 issue, advertising what's inside. Featured articles include a retrospective on the year 2000 and a complete N64 software catalog spanning 1996 to 2001. The new software section highlights upcoming games such as Pokémon Crystal version, Konami YY Racing Advance, Momotaro Festival, Mega Man Battle Network, Pokémon Stadium 2, Mickey's Racing Challenge USA, Animal Crossing, Animal Forest, Banjo-Tooie, Sin and Punishment, Mega Man Legends, Perfect Dark, and Shiren the Wanderer 2. A game index on the right side lists page numbers for articles, including Eco Delta, Kawaii Pet Shop, Monogatari 2, Attack.com Dungeon Ruruaga, and Wacky Races. An attention box displays a screenshot from a racing game, possibly Konami YY Racing Advance. This page is a release calendar for December 2000 and January 2001. Highlighting new games for Nintendo 64 and Game Boy Advance. It declares the end of the 20th century and the dawn of a new era for gaming. Featured as pickup games are Modern Great Strategy, Ultimate War for N64, a war simulation game emphasizing realistic battlefields and strategic depth, and Winning Post for Game Boy Advance, a horse racing simulation where players breed and train racehorses. The calendar section lists several Game Boy Advance releases for December 22nd, including Puzzle Bobble Millennium, Sylvanian Families 2, Fantasy in the Colorful Forest, Flying Dragon, Hiryu no Ken Gaiden, Cute Pet Shop Story 2, and Grandia, Parallel Trippers. Other notable releases mentioned are Ganbare Goemon, The Sky Pirate Ship Dynamites Are Go, for GBA on December 21st, Momotaro Dentetsu, One Right Pointing Arrow 2, and Doraemon's Study Boy Kanji Learning Game, for GBA in January. And for January 21st, Mickey's Speedway USA for N64, and Donkey Kong 2001 for GBA, likely referring to Donkey Kong Country Advance. The page also includes a table detailing the release schedule for Nintendo hardware and peripherals, listing the Game Boy Advance and various accessories for both GBA and the upcoming Nintendo GameCube, with some release dates and prices specified, and others marked as TBD. This page details 2 Nintendo 64 Top 10 lists. The anticipated new releases chart features games like Animal Crossing, Dobutsu no Mori, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Conker's Quest, and Mickey's Speedway USA. Many titles have tentative names and release dates in early 2001 or are undetermined. The best-selling software list is topped by Custom Robo V2 and includes Mario Tennis 64, Sin and Punishment, Paper Mario, and Perfect Dark. Release dates range from late 2000 to early 2001. A pickup section highlights Custom Robo V2, an action RPG focusing on robot customization and battles. A December survey revealed reader rankings across several categories. Nintendo fans desired sequels for their GameCube, with The Legend of Zelda, Super Smash Bros., and Star Fox topping the list. Other publishers' sequels were also desired, with Dragon Quest, Power Pros Baseball, and Final Fantasy leading the way. Readers also shared which series they consistently purchase, with The Legend of Zelda and Pokémon at the top. The survey also highlighted staff presence and their popularity, listing various items offered by staff members. Finally, a surprising ranking of top 10 favorite aircraft was included, with the Messerschmitt Me 109 as number 1, alongside historical aircraft and the unusual Pokémon jet and Wright Flyer number 1. Quote. This page introduces Konami YY Racing Advance for the Game Boy Advance. This is a comical kart racing game starring popular Konami characters. The page highlights 3 characters. Pastel from the Twinbee series, recommended for beginners due to her stable handling. Nyami from Poppin' Music, aimed at intermediate players with good acceleration but slightly slower top speed. And Takosuke from Parodius, also for beginners, noted for excellent cornering grip but weaker acceleration. The game features a YY P mode with 4 different cups to challenge. Screenshots show colorful kart racing gameplay with various track designs and character kart models. The game is designed for 1 to 4 players using a Game Boy Advance link cable. This page is introducing a new racing game with a focus on diverse characters and courses. The game features modes like YY Cup, Time Attack, Free Run, and Match Race, with a total of 16 courses and 8 characters. The page highlights several courses, including a space colony course with glass floors, a slippery ice paradise course, a course themed around Goemon's head with visual effects, a beach-themed Pop-on Beach course with palm trees to watch out for, a Cyberfield course with obstacles, and a Dracula-themed course set in a vampire castle. 5 characters are showcased. Goemon from the Goemon series, rated as stable and beginner-friendly. Ninja from Metal Gear, focused on acceleration and for intermediate players. Dracula from the Dracula series, boasting top speed for advanced players. Moai from the Gradius series, also with top speed and for advanced players. And Pawapuro-kun from the Pawapuro series, offering good grip and aimed at beginners. The game supports up to 4 players for simultaneous races, allowing players to compete with friends. The page mentions that more details will be revealed in 2001, suggesting the game was anticipated for release around that time and will be further covered in future issues of 64Dream magazine in 2001. This page introduces Momotaro Matsuri, which seems to be a parade variety RPG game developed by Hudson, although the platform listed is Game Boy Advance. The page describes the game's setting as a peaceful world where people are enjoying a festival. It mentions that the story is based on the Momotaro legend and features familiar characters from the tale. Screenshots show gameplay scenes with character interactions, exploration of village environments, and battles against enemies like Oni, demons. The page also mentions that the game features Yuragi and encourages players to join the fun. The text emphasizes that even in a peaceful world, there are still mischievous Oni. This page introduces the game Festival Robbing Bad Guys, Chestnut Brothers. It features two characters, Kuri Taro and Kuri Kintaro, who are causing trouble at festivals. The game revolves around various festival games, or yugi, that are popular attractions in Kachikachi Village and other villages. Screenshots show gameplay from different yugi activities, such as a memory matching game called Which Show, and a mochi pounding game called Mochitsuki Patanko. The page highlights that there are over 30 types of yugi to enjoy in the game. It appears to be a game focused on mini-games set within a festival context, where players likely try to stop the Chestnut Brothers from disrupting the festivities. The page suggests the game is action-oriented with races and challenges against the Chestnut Brothers. This page introduces the game Rockman EXE, known internationally as Mega Man Battle Network. It's being previewed for the Game Boy Advance and is an action game scheduled for release in March 2001. The page sets the scene with a storyline about a network terrorism group, WWW, causing chaos. The protagonist, Hikari Neto, is getting new parts for his Net Navi, Rockman, from his scientist father. However, trouble arises quickly on the newly opened Metro Rail line with a rockfall incident. The screenshots depict scenes of Neto receiving mail from his father about new parts, then a program seemingly being infected by a virus. Later, Neto is shown plugging into the internet from his home PC and entering the internet world. Another scene shows Neto encountering Dekao and his Navi, Gutsman, who is blocking access to something. The page highlights getting new parts for Rockman, encountering viruses, and battling in the internet. It also briefly mentions the Metro Rail security program bug and the exploration of the vast internet world being a central theme of the game. The page ends with a battle scene and the acquisition of items like Recovery 80A for Rockman and Guts Punch T chip data for Neto. This page introduces the world of net battles in a game, showcasing action-packed battles within a computer network. It seems to be previewing gameplay mechanics like choosing battle chips, using skills like Wide Sword and Area Steal, and defeating enemies to obtain chips. The page also features an Introduction to Friends' Houses section, showing character interactions in a house setting, including dialogue snippets about pets, personal terminals, and game machines. Character profiles for Blues, Enzan, and Saroma are presented, briefly describing their roles and personalities within the game. Blues is described as enigmatic with a sword, Enzan as a mysterious youth and rival, and Saroma as a Japanese-style beauty whose Net Navi is a mystery. Overall, the page is previewing the features and characters of what seems to be a network battle-focused game, possibly related to the Mega Man Battle Network series, though not explicitly mentioned as an N64 title. The next page is all about Pokemon Crystal version on the Game Boy Color. They're calling it the last big adventure of the 20th century. This version is the updated release of Gold and Silver, and the article highlights the new features. For the first time, you can play as a female protagonist, and they are showing off the starting town, Wakaba Town, and the journey towards Unos City. It points out the differences from Pokemon Gold and Silver, noting changes in wild Pokemon distribution, learnable moves, and that Pokemon now hatch from eggs. It also mentions it's compatible with the mobile system GB, and is designed to take advantage of the Game Boy Color. There are tables detailing the wild Pokemon you can find on Route 29 and Route 46 at different times of day, and also what Pokemon you can fish for in Wakaba Town's fishing spot. Pokemon Crystal is an RPG for one player, and you can still trade with friends using a link cable. The release date is set for December 14th in Japan. This page is all about Pokemon Crystal version. It highlights the mobile system GB feature, which allows players to connect their Game Boy Color to a mobile phone for trading and battling Pokemon, accessing a trade corner, and news. The page also points out that wild Pokemon distribution differs in Crystal compared to Pokemon Gold and Silver, and provides charts showing Pokemon appearing on Route 30 and Route 31, as well as the Sprout Tower, Dark Cave, and fishing spots around Violet City, at different times of day, morning, noon, and night. It advises players to check these charts and pay attention to the time of day. It also mentions the Violet City Gym and Sprout Tower, suggesting players catch a Pippi, Clefairy, there. This page is all about Pokemon Gold and Silver. It delves into the mysteries of the ruins of Alph and the new secrets surrounding the Pokemon unknown, even mentioning a word puzzle that spells out Ananuk. It also details information about mass outbreaks in Pokemon Crystal version, explaining that trainers will call you on the phone to let you know about these events. Trainers like Fisherman Yasuhaki, Bug Catcher Tsutomu, and bugcatcher Yoda on routes 32, 33, and 35 will provide this information. The page features several tables outlining wild Pokemon distributions in various locations, such as Route 32, Union Cave, Route 33, Ruins of Alph, Slowpoke Well, Ilex Forest, and Route 34, broken down by morning, day, and night. Additionally, it mentions Team Rocket's presence in Azalea Town and tasks players with confronting them to progress, noting that Kurt's house cannot be accessed until Team Rocket is dealt with. Lastly, the page touches on bargain information available at the Goldenrod department store, where trainers can give you helpful tips on bargain sales. This page is focused on the areas of Goldenrod City and Ecruteak City in the games Pokemon Gold and Silver. It highlights a few key events and features within these locations. Firstly, there's a mention of a new radio program being available in Goldenrod City, accessible at the radio tower and the newly opened PCC, which is the Pokemon Communications Center. Next, the guide explains how to get a Squirtle in Goldenrod City. It states that by completing 2 events and visiting the flower shop, you can obtain this Pokemon. Moving on to Ecruteak City, it points out that when you arrive, the gym leader isn't around. The suggestion is to head to the Burned Tower, where a new character named Minaki appears. This encounter with Minaki is said to lead to a battle and kicks off the Suicune storyline. Finally, the page touches upon the legendary Pokemon Suicune, explaining that after certain events, Suicune will appear and can be encountered in a specific location, offering a chance to catch it. The rest of the page is dedicated to wild Pokemon distribution tables, listing what Pokemon appear on routes 35, 36, and 37, as well as within the Burned Tower, broken down by morning, day, and night cycles. There's also a small section stating that you can fish for Poliwag and Wooper in Ecruteak City using a rod. This page is dedicated to Pokemon Stadium 2, known as Pokemon Stadium Gold and Silver in Japan. The page serves as a preview focusing on trainer battles and showcasing Pokemon data. It highlights different trainer types such as Psychic, Poison, Fighting, Dark, and Dragon, providing example teams and Pokemon moves for each. The Japanese release date is noted as December 14th, with a price of 6,800 yen. Additionally, it mentions a strategy guidebook for the game scheduled for release around late January 2001. This page is a guide focusing on the Pokemon data of Kanto trainers. It features several notable trainers including Lieutenant Surge, Sabrina, Misty, Erica, Koga, Brock, Blaine, Blue, and Red. For each trainer, the page lists their Pokemon, along with their types and moves. It highlights the type specializations of some trainers, such as Electric for Lieutenant Surge, Psychic for Sabrina, Water for Misty, Grass for Erica, Poison for Koga, Rock for Brock, and Fire for Blaine, with Blue being noted as an all-rounder, and Red using grass types. It serves as a reference to help players prepare for battles against these key trainers in the Kanto region. The page also includes images of Pokemon and their associated types. This page is showcasing Mickey Speedway USA for the Nintendo 64, a racing game where you can race as Mickey Mouse and his friends across various American locations. The page highlights the game's release in January 2001, its 14-player capability, Rumble Pack support, and price of 6,800 yen. Screenshots showed diverse racetracks including city and snowy environments, characters like Mickey, Donald Duck, Goofy, and Daisy Duck racing in carts, and gameplay mechanics like using items/weapons. The text describes the game as offering enjoyable races with various course types set in America, allowing players to have fun with friends. It also mentions features such as opening movie fun, crashes due to opponent attacks, and special racer unlocks when certain conditions are met. Overall, the page is a preview introducing the game and its exciting racing action. This page is a preview of the Nintendo 64 game Dobutsu no Mori, which was later released internationally as Animal Crossing. The article highlights the core concept of the game, which is to live a relaxing life in a village populated by animals, experiencing the changing seasons in real time, just like in the real world. The page showcases various screenshots, including winter scenes with snowy landscapes, interactions with animals at the post office, notice boards displaying messages and even music melodies, and Christmas illuminations on trees as the holiday approaches. It also mentions Tanukichi's, Tom Nook's, shop with a Christmas tree inside. The article emphasizes the unique gameplay where time progresses in the game even when the N64 is turned off, meaning animals continue their lives, creating a sense of daily engagement and the anticipation of returning to the village each day to see what has happened. It points out features like sending letters to animal friends, checking the village notice boards for announcements, and even writing messages using the 3D stick for text input. The game aims to create a heartwarming and enjoyable experience through daily interactions and the changing seasons within the Dobutsu no Mori world. This page introduces the Nintendo 64 game Animal Leader, known as Cubivore. Survival of the Fittest in English. The game is described as an action title, where you start as the weakest creature, a pig, and must survive by eating other dupsu to become stronger. The core gameplay loop is described as hunt, devour, and survive. The page highlights the concept of transformation, explaining that by consuming irodupsu, color creatures, you can change your form. The goal is to become the strongest creature by transforming and understanding the rules of transformation and shape. Screenshots show gameplay examples of hunting, tackling, and eating meat. Another section details the Kubi system, where eating meat allows you to increase body segments, making you stronger. The right side of the page illustrates how different colors of niku, meat, lead to different transformations into various animal forms, like birds, fish, insects, and beasts. The page emphasizes that to survive, you must choose between eating or being eaten. This page showcases the Nintendo 64 game Echo Delta, a real-time strategy title exclusive to Japan. The game, developed by Nintendo, was slated for release in February 2001, priced at 5,800 yen. The page highlights the core gameplay loop. Players take on the role of a scout, piloting a special submersible and collaborating with operators and navigators. The primary objective is to locate and rescue transport ships in a world submerged due to catastrophic climate change. Gameplay revolves around collecting elements and utilizing plants, which act as energy generators. Players must strategically manage resources, using radar to find energy, strengthen plants, and ultimately raise targets. The page describes a fever mode, a complex but powerful state triggered by defeating enemies near plants and collecting starters. Fever mode drastically increases plant production, aiding in faster target acquisition and ship rescue. The screenshots illustrate the underwater setting and strategic gameplay. The next page focuses on Banjo-Tooie, known in Japan as Banjo-Kazooie no Daibuken 2, and is a strategy guide for 3 mid-game stages. It highlights Jolly Roger's Lagoon, a stage set in the sea, and points out that it is full of dangerous traps. The page includes a map of Jolly Roger's Lagoon, detailing locations like Atlantis, Fish Temple, Electric Eel's Den, Item Temple, Ancient Bath, and Sea Bottom, along with the doubloon costs associated with certain areas like Blubber's Rent-A-Boat, Mumbo's Skull Hut, and Pano's Emporium. It also guides players to the stage entrance from the cliff area, and recommends checking previous issues for uncollected jigsaw pieces. Game details confirm it's an action game for 14 players on the Nintendo 64, supporting the Rumble Pack, and retailed for 6,800 yen. The next page focuses on Stage 4, Jolly's Resort, in the game Banjo-Kazooie. It details special actions available such as the Ice Egg, Wing Attack, Aqua Egg Aim, and Kazooie Gyrido. The page gives gameplay tips within Jolly's Resort. Tip 1 explains collecting doubloons to exchange for a jigsaw piece at Poundo's hut. Tip 2 discusses using transparent fish underwater to get items, but notes their location changes with each play session. Tip 3 describes protecting Clarisse in the Fish Temple from attacking fish using Aqua Egg Aim. Tip 4 instructs to enter the UFO at the bottom of the sea in Kazooie Gyrido, and use ice eggs on the 4 crystal platforms to power the UFO. Tip 5 guides players to enter the tent in the swamp to find a jigsaw piece inside. Tip 6 explains that, in the area with lockers, finding a differently colored locker leads to a woo-ha-ha boss fight, which rewards a jigsaw. Tip 7 directs players to the ocean floor in the Jolly's pub area to rescue Mary Maggie by breaking Big Fish's teeth and entering its mouth. Tip 8 is about finding a cracked wall in Mumbo's hut to break with bomb eggs, leading to Tippy Tappy's beach and another jigsaw piece. The page also mentions helping Ginger Joves in specific locations, such as by the waterfall in the Whirlpool Pond near the foot of the mountain, and in the waterway of Kirin Kuzan in the bottom of Nutty Cave. This page is about the Terry Land stage, specifically Terry's Oasis level in Banjo-Kazooie. It highlights the areas within the level, such as Umba's Tent, Manbo's Skull Mansion, Mountain River, Stegosaurus family's home, and various caves and areas. The page describes the enemy Grangoli Venji, who is located between the Hayashi area and Kugan area, mentioning he's not much stronger than when first encountered, and to attack while running around him after his magic shield disappears. The page also explains the special action Baby Kazooie, which costs 315 notes, allowing players to control Baby Kazooie to enter small holes to collect items and attack by self-destructing. The stage entrance to Terry's Oasis is described as being through the mouth of a dinosaur head-shaped rock in the Orechi area. This page focuses on a stage called Terry's Oasis from the game Banjo-Kazooie. It outlines, strategy guide, information about obtaining jiggies in this area. Special actions like using spring shoes for high jumps, the rucksack taxi to carry items, and Kazooie's Atate egg-spitting ability are highlighted. The page details 9 steps to collect jiggies, starting with transforming into Baby Tyrannosaurus at Unba's tent to get directions from a Stegosaurus. It then mentions defeating 5 Rocknet enemies using Baby Kazooie and using spring shoes in the mountain area. Helping Styracosaurus children and solving puzzles involving Stones and Terry are further objectives. The guide advises using Terry's eggs, baiting Unga Bunga, and utilizing Crumber Boots with fire eggs to progress and collect jiggies. It mentions a hint code is available near the jiggy on the way to Terry's nest. The page also mentions previously missed jiggies from earlier issues could be obtained in Stage 2, Kira Rin Kuzan, and Stage 3, Witch World. This page is a strategy guide for Banjo-Kazooie, focusing on navigating the factory's alarm system. It highlights the marsh area and advises using spring shoes to jump through holes in the drill machine's path to reach this area. The page also describes the stage entrance, where the doors are initially locked, requiring players to find the shopper switch located on the right side of the entrance's pond and ride the shopper to enter the building. The map also points out locations like the garbage presser, workers' room, elevator shaft, boiler facility, and toxic gas storage facility across different floors from 1F to 5F. This page is about Stage 6, Grunty Industries, from the game Banjo-Kazooie. It details special actions available in this stage like the Crumber Boots, which allow climbing walls with footprints, the Oyasumi Ryuku, which is a sleeping backpack to recover energy, and the spring jump for high jumps. The page provides a walkthrough guide with numbered steps to navigate the level. These steps include using the sleeping backpack in the compressor room on the first floor, defeating 20 clinkers on floors 3 to 4, using Kazooie alone to enter a cage with 6 tin tops, moving boxes in the boiler room, using Unba's tent to become washer and get a jiggy from behind the control room, getting a jiggy from atop stacked containers on the 5th floor, helping 6 workers by cleaning their clothes with the washer, and finally, defeating the boss welder in the boss room by hitting the weak point when it's sucking in air and avoiding the electric floor after 3 hits to get another jiggy. This page showcases the Nintendo 64 game Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth. It's a shooting game from Nintendo that was released in Japan on November 21st, priced at 5,800 yen. The game supports 1 to 2 players and is compatible with the Vibration Pack. The page features artwork of key characters, including Saki, Elan, Isa, Brad, and Lita, alongside in-game action shots showing intense gameplay. This page is a walkthrough for Mission 21 of the Nintendo 64 game Sin and Punishment. The page details the story context where Saki has transformed and defeated Kachua, but Tokyo has been destroyed. They teleport to the Armed Volunteer Airbase where Commander Brad/Blood awaits on the bridge. The screenshots provide gameplay tips for navigating this mission, including advice to jump to avoid pink bullets, use counterattacks against Commando Rita, destroy turrets and laser cannons, and be aware of traps in the airbase. It also shows combat strategies such as rolling to approach Liata enemies and attacking with jumps, dealing with lasers from both sides, destroying lasers from the edge for safety, targeting pink flower-like parts while moving right, and destroying the leg parts of a large monster to make it fall. The guide instructs the player to chase monsters while locking on and avoiding obstacles, and once Liata is defeated, to engage Brad/Blood in close combat with sword attacks, noting that Brad cannot be defeated in this initial encounter, and the player should focus on evading his attacks. This page appears to be a strategy guide for the N64 game Bakusho Yoshimoto no Shinkigeki, Densetsu no Hero. The guide focuses on Mission 22, titled Wrath of Akuchi. The mission objective seems to be to defeat the armored volunteer fighters. The guide provides gameplay tips for different scenarios within the mission, such as dealing with laser attacks, using counterattacks against missiles, and defeating enemy commanders. Screenshots show gameplay action with characters fighting in a 3D environment with spaceships and explosions. The guide mentions characters like Brad and Saki, who are involved in the mission. It advises players to use sword attacks against nearby enemies and counter-attacks against missiles. It also highlights that the blue laser attacks from enemies are powerful and should be avoided by destroying the parts emitting the lasers. The guide also mentions that the stage is quite long and advises players to collect life power-ups available in the area. It seems to be providing a step-by-step walkthrough with visual aids to help players complete the mission. This game was released only in Japan. This page previews Mission 23 of a horror action game, seemingly titled Aiden's Dream, Kyokuto Kensunji. The mission objective is to rescue Saki, who is being targeted by enemies. The player character, Aiden, must enter Saki's heart to restore her original form and humanity. The screenshots depict gameplay in a subway setting, infested with enemies called Rudafians. Gameplay involves both sword combat and shooting. Enemy types highlighted are Huddle Seeker, Jelly Seeker, and Birth Model, each with unique attack patterns. The tips suggest using swords for close combat, shooting for ranged attacks, focusing on counterattacks, and using rapid hits to defeat enemies. The central commander boss is mentioned as appearing from falling rocks, indicating boss encounters are part of the gameplay. This page focuses on Rockman Dash, Steel on Adventure Heart, Mega Man Legends. It's a strategy guide covering the game after the flutter repairs and leading up to the last battle. The page details two main sections. The first section, Closed Forest Subgate, guides players through obtaining 3 ID cards to unlock the main gate. It mentions speaking to Roland the Flutter after the repairs are complete to access the subgate. The guide advises obtaining the ID cards to solve the main gate puzzle and suggests trying different equipment as strong enemies appear. The second section, Mission vs. Genselshaft, focuses on the battle against the Genselshaft. It describes how Bones air pirates attack the Flutter and lead to a battle with the Genselshaft. The guide instructs players to first destroy the Drap enemies and then attack the engine and hull of the Genselshaft. Finally, it advises attacking the front mark, suggesting that Lapoya, Fockerwolf, will then appear, and to conserve health. The page features screenshots of gameplay, including dialogue boxes, in-game environments, and combat scenarios with the characters rock and roll. There are tips highlighted with upward arrows indicating key actions or advice, like collecting 3 ID cards and attacking while running. The top right of the page displays Nintendo 64 and game information, such as the title, publisher, Capcom, release date on sale, price, 6,800 yen, genre, free-running RPG, number of players, 1, and compatibility with vibration packs. This guide provides a walkthrough for Mystical Ninja, starring Goemon on the N64. The first part focuses on liberating the main gate underground residence, involving defeating Genselshaft, activating a device, exploring the area for items, including parts for Roll-chan, and money farming. The second section details the fight against Theodore Bruno, a mecha encountered at the power plant after freeing the residential area. It advises destroying the fence and attacking his belly from afar, maximizing power beforehand. Next, the guide explains how to acquire 3 keys within the underground residential area by defeating enemies in 3 different entrance areas and finding keys in treasure chests. Finally, the guide describes the intense final battle in the main gate, emphasizing the use of defense shields, ski attacks, and special attacks like Shiny Bazooka against a grotesque and powerful enemy form. This page is a strategy guide for Mission 51 Alaska Air Force Base Disguise from the Nintendo 64 game Perfect Dark. The guide breaks down the mission into 5 steps. First, disguise yourself as a stewardess to infiltrate the base. Next, load your equipment into an attaché case to avoid detection. Then, disable the baggage inspection system. After that, obtain the flight plan from a locked room, possibly using explosives. Finally, board the President's plane, Air Force One, by either using the elevator or directly via a laser grid, noting that your choice will impact the starting point of the next stage. The page also lists general game information, including the title Perfect Dark, the publisher Nintendo, and mentions that it's a 3D gun action game for 1 to 4 players and requires the memory expansion pack. This page appears to be a mission guide for Mission 52 of the N64 game Perfect Dark. The mission is titled President's Dedicated Machine, Escape Route. The guide is broken down into 5 steps. Step 1. Collect equipment. Instructs the player to retrieve equipment left on the lowest floor of the aircraft. Warning to be careful of maintenance personnel. Step 2. Find the President. directs the player to the top floor to meet the president, show him the recorded video evidence against Trent, and emphasizes avoiding unnecessary combat with guards. Only reaching the president is required, and to listen to all dialogue to avoid guards being called. Step 3. Guide the president to the escape pod. Tasks the player with escorting the president to the escape pod on the lowest floor, highlighting that this is the core of the mission and that Trent's men will arrive. Card keys are needed, obtainable by defeating guards on the second floor, requiring 2 keys in total. Step 4. Ensure the president's dedicated machine safety. Details securing the president's aircraft after talking to him. The cockpit autopilot will activate, and the player must protect the pilot from enemies within a time limit. Success triggers a cockpit demo scene at mission clear. Step 5. Detach the enemy aircraft. Advises using the lift for stealth to reach the second floor entrance of the enemy aircraft to plant timed bombs. Detonating these bombs prevents enemy invasion and can be done at any point after finding the president. Mission 53. Crash site less than decisive battle greater than, in Perfect Dark, tasks the player with several objectives. First, retrieve the president's monitor to find the president and his clone. Second, send an SOS signal using the escape pod equipment. Third, destroy 2 jamming devices using remote bombs. Fourth, eliminate the president's clone, identifiable with night vision. Finally, rescue the captured president from a cave guarded by robots and safely escort him to Elvis. A hoverbike aids travel. Sensor bombs are recommended if other objectives fail and Elvis is contacted. This last objective is recommended as the final mission to complete. Mission 61, Parasitic Defense, in Perfect Dark, involves infiltrating Pelagic 2 to thwart Mr. Trent's plans. Key objectives include cutting off the mothership's power, disabling GPS and automatic driving, securing research data from scientists, preferably non-lethally, and operating the moon pool lift. Disrupt the power supply by switching off the green lights on the octagonal pillar and flipping the switch below. Disable the GPS and driving device on the top floor. Capture scientists and acquire their data. Operate the moon pool lift, defeating any enemies that appear. Finally, in Agent Difficulty, rendezvous with Elvis at the moon pool, eliminating enemies along the way. This page is a guide for Mission 62, Deep Sea Divergence, from the N64 game Perfect Dark. It details 5 objectives within the mission, each with instructions for Agent, Advanced, and Perfect difficulty levels. The first objective is to activate a teleporter, requiring the player to eliminate enemies using the spike clock and IR scanner to proceed. The second task is to obstruct the final weapon system, where the player must protect Elvis while destroying green generators. Next, the player needs to dominate the control room by defeating Mr. Blonde and other enemies quickly, recommending the CMP-150 weapon. The fourth objective is to restore Dr. Carroll by selecting backup data in front of him after securing the control room, followed by a sad cutscene. Finally, the player must escape from the Cetus during a countdown, avoiding spike clock enemies and focusing on personal survival, as Elvis is not required to act. The guide emphasizes different requirements for Agent, Advanced, and Perfect difficulties throughout the mission. This page is a strategy guide for the Nintendo 64 game Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer 2, focusing on a specific dungeon called the Unopening Room, located in Shiren Castle. The guide details how to or conquer this dungeon, mentioning that it spans from the 1st to the 99th floor. A key objective within the Unopening Room is to rescue 5 lost children, who are scattered on different floors like 20F, 30F, 40F, 50F, and 60F99F. The guide highlights the importance of using crafted weapons, specifically mentioning the Rasen Wind Devil Rod of +99 as an example of a powerful weapon achievable through synthesis. It also points out the unique item system in this dungeon, where identification of items is crucial, mentioning identification pots and the need to carefully identify items due to the limited inventory space. The dungeon prevents bringing items from outside and purchasing items in shops, making resource management and item identification vital for success. This page talks about the game Shiren the Wanderer 2, Oni Invasion, Shiren Castle, a Japan-only release for the N64. It gives advice on using allies effectively in dungeons, especially in early levels, suggesting equipping them with strong weapons and utilizing their ranged attacks. The page also highlights several dangerous monsters players should be aware of in the game. These include the Kanin Bukuro, which explodes when taking damage, the Shihan, known for throwing equipment, The Itetsu Sensha, a fast-moving tank-like monster with double attacks. The Doshiburi Bozu, which removes buffs with rain. The Gyandora that reduces item capacity. The Petit Phoenix, which teleports and heals itself and other monsters. The Tiger Uhan, a strong-ranged attacker. The Tamaran Kappa, which throws floor items. The Megatoros, a rare enemy that drops valuable pots. And finally the Arc Dragon, the ultimate dragon form that uses homing fire attacks across the entire floor. The page also mentions the Golden Room, a special location where rare items can be found, appearing on dungeon floors 610 and 7080. This is the Road of Unfortunate Boast, compiles N64 gaming mishaps. Players share stories, learning from each other's failures. Explosion of Mammal's Anger recounts a trap leading to an explosion. Hole in One incident describes item loss after falling through a floor. Store turns into Monster House, details a shop turning into a monster-filled area. Too Much Wastefulness tells of a failed shoplifting attempt. Asuka disappeared into the wall, involves a character glitching inside a wall while using a wall-passing ability. I'm sorry, recounts a chain reaction from throwing a sling of courage. These stories, filled with RPG and roguelike elements, highlight the unpredictable and humorous aspects of N64 gaming experiences. This page is an advertisement for Nintendo game strategy guides published by 64Dream and Nintendo Stadium. It highlights 4 game guides that are already on sale. For the Nintendo 64, strategy guides for Perfect Dark, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, titled Banjo and Kazooie's Great Adventure 2 in Japanese, and Mario Party 3 are advertised. The guide for Perfect Dark promises complete walkthroughs with CG maps and detailed strategies, even covering secrets and GoldenEye 007 techniques. The guide for Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, boasts 90% zone service coverage. The Mario Party 3 guide promotes Millennium Stars and detailed board maps. A strategy guide for Mario Tennis GB on Game Boy is also advertised on the page. The next page shows a calendar for the year 2001, which is a 64Dream special sticker calendar, volume 53. It's themed around Mario Party 3 and features characters from the Mario universe for each month of the year. You can see Yoshi for January, Mario in February, Princess Peach for March, Luigi in April, a Piranha Plant for May, Princess Daisy for June, another Piranha Plant for July, Wario and a spaceship for August, Donkey Kong for September, a squid from Splatoon for October, Bowser for November, and Mario and Wario again for December. It also mentions that there are Banjo and Kazooie stickers included too, and shows Banjo-Kazooie characters at the bottom of the page. There's also a small advert for Mickey's Racing Challenge USA. The page mentions to stick the stickers on top of your game cassette cases. The GameCube Entertainment Club section of the magazine, renamed from Letters after a reader's suggestion, solicits ideas for a rival name to GameCube and mascot illustrations. Readers' letters include excitement over retrieving a long-borrowed game and contemplation of lending another, mirroring the editor's own experience with unreturned loans. Another reader notes the similarity between WonderSwan Color and Game Boy Color commercials, prompting the editors to discuss the WonderSwan Color's potential as a rival and their experiences with the original WonderSwan. Finally, the editors confirm their plans for a 64Dream homepage, delayed by technical issues, and request reader contributions, including parental guidance unit illustrations. The page also showcases reader-submitted artwork featuring various game characters and holiday-themed drawings. This page features the manga Dream Runker by Shigehisa Nakawe. The comic strip follows characters that appear to be inspired by the Mario games, specifically one resembling Koopa named Killer John, and another character named Hi-Ho. The story begins with them searching for Hi-Ho's parent, initially expecting to find the sea based on their map. However, they surprisingly end up in a desert environment. Despite this, they decide to continue onward in the desert, encountering cacti and calling out, seemingly looking for someone or something. The text at the bottom clarifies that this manga is an original story and may not align directly with established game storylines. The next page introduces Killer Joe, a character from the Super Mario series, joining Bowser's army. It's a comic strip where Joe, a killer, is stuck on the ground after falling and bumping into a cactus. He explains to a Koopa Troopa that killers can't fly on their own and need cannons. Joe asks the Koopa to throw him into the air, offering to become his servant in return. The Koopa agrees, and Joe becomes his servant. The text box at the bottom highlights Killer Joe as the featured character for the month. reminiscing about how challenging killers were in the original Super Mario Bros. On the NES due to their cannon placements. It also notes that killers are less prominent in N64 games, only appearing once in Super Mario 64 in Wiggler's Fortress, where a giant killer awaits Mario. The article suggests players remember this encounter. This page features a humorous comic strip starring characters from the Super Mario universe. The comic depicts a Chain Chomp escaping and causing chaos for a Koopa Troopa. The Koopa Troopa initially orders the Chain Chomp to get down, but the Chain Chomp breaks free and rejoices in its freedom. The Koopa Troopa gets angry and calls the Chain Chomp names, getting increasingly frustrated by the situation. The comic continues with further antics and reactions to the Chain Chomp's escape. At the bottom of the page, there's a section called Illustration Lover Introduction, which seems to showcase fan submissions. One submission mentions The Legend of Zelda, another shows characters Mario and Luigi I, and another mentions FE character, which is likely referring to Fire Emblem. These are illustrations submitted by readers and accompanied by comments, such as someone saying they like FE characters in FC, Famicom, style. A Super Mario-themed manga strip follows Goomba Heihobo-chan and a Koopa Troopa named Joe. Joe recognizes Heihobo-chan from his father's ship, triggering a nostalgic conversation about being separated from their parents and their decision to head towards the sea. Contextual text reveals that Joe, recently joined by Killer Joe, led them to a vast desert instead. The comic concludes with them moving further away from the sea, highlighting Joe's poor sense of direction. The final panel teases a "to be continued" with Fox McCloud from Star Fox 64, hinting at his appearance in the next episode. This GameSoft fan club page features discussions about Nintendo 64 games. Smash Bros. FC fans crave a sequel, hoping for a game with all Nintendo characters, with anecdotes of chaotic matches. Star Fox FC explores sequel character ideas, including younger characters and a humorous request for the team to achieve financial success, plus more Cat Monroe appearances. Zelda San Side Story highlights the frequency of Zelda releases, including 2 new Game Boy titles, and promotes a strategy guide. The GB information section discusses these new Zelda games, mentioning Link's appearance. Finally, Ah Foolish Person shares humorous anecdotes about Majora's Mask, including a misidentification of the Guru Guru song and surprise at character appearances. This document covers various topics related to upcoming and current games, primarily focusing on the Game Boy Advance, GBA, GameCube, and Pokemon. The GBA sections discuss the Fire Emblem game, fan expectations, and desired features, like the triangle attack. Discussions also include a fan club, GBA FEFC, and wishes for the revival of elements from other games. The Pokemon section focuses on opinions regarding Raikou and Suicune in Pokemon Crystal, and rival naming in Gold/Silver versions. GameCube discussions center on the anticipation of a Mario title, a sequel to Mario Story, and the welcome of other software. The document includes fan letters, specifically a section called Owaga, soliciting input on tactical battles in GBA games. Another section is referred to as Executive Committee, another fan submission outlet. The document ends by providing information on how to send postcards and illustrations to the Game Software Fan Club Second Department for possible inclusion. This page is the Almost Rough Draft Copy Corner, a reader submission section filled with humorous anecdotes and observations related to Nintendo games, particularly focusing on the N64. The section Pokemon Irregularities covers funny player experiences and misunderstandings in Pokemon, like the evolution of Scyther into Crawdaunt instead of Scyther, and other general Pokemon game-related jokes. Heaven Hard is focused on hardware humor around Nintendo consoles like the N64, Game Boy Advance, Switch, and GameCube. Dream Drunker explores dreamlike game experiences and funny character associations, mentioning characters like Koopa, Link, Waluigi, Kirby, and Fox. The This Month's Copy section announces that this column will be ending next month and highlights that the submission themes were Your 64 on the Floor and Switch On Game Start, mentioning they received a large number of submissions by email and postcard and are showcasing some of the best. This page is a perfect catalog for N64 software spanning the years 1996 to 2001. It declares that it will help you understand everything about N64 software. The page is presented as a complete preservation edition, implying it's a comprehensive archive. The entire page is packed with the names of N64 games released during this period, listing a vast collection of titles available on the console. Games like Super Mario 64, Pilotwings 64, Wave Race 64, F-Zero X, Donkey Kong 64, Mario Party 2, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and various Pokémon Stadium titles are just a few visible examples from this extensive software library. This page is a catalog of N64 games, listed in alphabetical order, showcasing a wide range of titles available for the console. It presents games from the A, Ka, and Sa sections of the Japanese alphabet. You can see titles like Castlevania 64 and its sequel, Castlevania, Legacy of Darkness, alongside fishing games like Itoi Shigesato's #1 Bass Fishing. There are action titles like Winback, covert operations, and sports games, such as Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 and Wave Race 64. Japanese exclusive titles are also featured, including SD Hiryu's Fist Legend, L-Tail Monsters, and Kakuto Denshou. F-Cup Maniacs. Popular franchises like NBA in the Zone, F-Zero, Excitebike, Custom Robo, Chameleon Twist, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, and Power Pro's baseball games are also prominently listed, offering a snapshot of the diverse N64 game library. This catalog details Nintendo 64 games available at the time of publication, primarily focusing on the Japanese market. The listed titles span various genres, including sports, racing, adventure, and action, showcasing the console's diverse library. Popular games like Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Star Fox 64 are included, along with many Japan-exclusive releases such as Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth, and various Doraemon titles. Information provided for each game includes the Japanese title, genre, publisher, release date, price, and player count. This list serves as a comprehensive overview of the N64 software available in Japan during this time. This page is a catalog showcasing a large selection of Nintendo 64 games available in Japan. It lists each game with its genre, publisher, release date, price in yen, and number of players. Some of the games mentioned include popular titles like Bomberman 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, FIFA, Road to World Cup 98, Pokémon Stadium, Pokémon Snap, Mario Kart 64, Mario Golf 64, Mario Story, Mario Tennis 64, Mario Party, Yoshi's Story, and Wonder Project J2. Many of these games are recognizable international hits, while some, like 64, which translates to Hilarious Life 64, Aim for Resort King, might be less known outside of Japan. The catalog provides a snapshot of the diverse N64 game library available at the time, spanning genres from action and adventure to sports, puzzle, and RPGs. It indicates a healthy and active market for the Nintendo 64 in Japan during this period. This catalog details the N64 software released in 1996, highlighting the June 23 launch date as a significant milestone. Key titles include Saikyu Habu Shogi, a shogi game with beginner-friendly tutorials, Super Mario 64, the groundbreaking 3D action-adventure, and Pilotwings 64, a simulation game offering diverse missions. Wave Race 64 provides jet ski racing with realistic wave control. Other titles showcased include Wonder Project J2, Koruro no Mori no Josette, a communication adventure, Aiku no St. Andrews, a realistic golf simulation, likely Japan exclusive, Mario Kart 64, a user-friendly racing game with multiple modes, and Jikyu J-League Perfect Striker, the first soccer game for the N64. The catalog aims to provide a complete overview of the year's high-quality software offerings. This page reviews Nintendo 64 software, highlighting several games. Early releases include Super Spacetime Nighter Pro Baseball King and Mahjong Master, 1996. 1997 saw limited third-party titles, with Rare Limited developing 3 games. Price reductions for popular games like Super Mario 64 and GoldenEye 007 were announced for March 1998. Vibration Pack compatibility was added to Wave Race 64 and Pilotwings 64 in July 1997. Featured games include GoldenEye 007 recommended, Power Pros 4, Doraemon, Nobita and the 3 Spirit Stones, Blastozer, J-League Live 64, Human Grand Prix, The New Generation, and Mahjong 64. These games span various genres, from baseball and action to racing and puzzle, showcasing the diverse offerings on the Nintendo 64. This page reviews several Nintendo 64 games. Notable titles include Star Fox 64, a 3D shooter, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, an action shooter, and Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, bridging the gap between Star Wars films. Mischief Makers offers unique gameplay, while Multi-Racing Championship supports the Rumble Pack. Other games include Django Simulation, Mahjong Road 64, Doom 64, Mahjong Hiroki Classic, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, and Power League 64. GoldenEye 007, a James Bond game, is highlighted for its popular 4-player battles and is highly anticipated. J-League Dynamite Soccer 64 is also mentioned. The right-hand column specifically highlights the anticipation for GoldenEye 007. This page showcases a selection of N64 titles in a perfect catalog format. It begins with GameCube World Soccer 3, highlighting it as the first perfect version and mentioning 36 countries are included with gameplay similar to previous games. Next up is Bomberman 64, a jump to 3D for the Bomberman series, emphasizing customizable parts and 4-player battles. J-League 11 Beat 1997 is featured as a soccer game with realistic players and tactical gameplay. Puyo Puyo Sun 64, the puzzle game, boasts content from the CD-ROM version with improved tempo and animations. Diddy Kong Racing is presented as a racing game starring Diddy Kong, including battle races and vehicles like planes and hovercraft. Pro Mahjong Kiwami 64 is a mahjong game focusing on realism and featuring famous players. Famista 64 is introduced as a baseball game from the popular series, known for its approachable controls. HEIWA Pachinko World 64 simulates pachinko machines, including CR pachinko types. 64 Uzumo is a sumo wrestling game focused on authentic sumo techniques. Wild Choppers is a helicopter shooting action game utilizing 3D stick controls. Dual Heroes is highlighted as Hudson's debut N64 fighting game, centered around a hero versus villain theme. Finally, Top Gear Rally is a rally racing game that boasts realistic car damage and body deformation. This page highlights various Nintendo 64 games. The selection includes action games like Chameleon Twist and Hexen, a Doom-like shooter. Sports titles are represented by Snowboard Kids, the official Nagano Olympics game, Hyper Olympic in Nagano 64, Aero Gauge, a racing game, Virtual Pro Wrestling 64, and Harukanaru Augusta Masters 98. Fighting games include Hiryu, no Ken Twin. Party games include Uchan Nanchan, no Honu, no Challenger, Denryu Irerabu, and 64 Dahaken. Tamagotchi Mena de Tamagotchi World. Yoshi's Story, a charming fantasy action game, is also featured. A notable peripheral, the biosensor, compatible only with Tetris 64, reacts to the player's heart rate, influencing gameplay speed and difficulty. In 1998, the Nintendo 64 was set to receive a diverse lineup of games. Hudson's Shin Nippon Pro Wrestling and Konami's NBA in the Zone 98 offered wrestling and basketball action respectively. SimCity 2000 brought city building to the console, while Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey promised fast-paced hockey. 1080-degree snowboarding, aimed for realistic snowboarding, and Sonic Wings Assault offered a flight simulator with city stages. Fighting game fans could look forward to GASP, Fighters NEXtreme, and baseball enthusiasts had GameCube Powerful Pro Yakyu 5. Puzzle fans could enjoy Susum Tasin, Puzzle Dama, and Airboarder 64 focused on trick-based airboarding. Finally, Getter Love was recommended as a fun party game. This page highlights a variety of Nintendo 64 games across various genres. Fighting games are represented by Space Dynamites, while strategy fans can enjoy Marita Shogi 64. Sports titles include FIFA Road to World Cup and GameCube World Soccer World Cup, France 98, both focusing on the 1998 World Cup, and Olympic Hockey Nagano 98. Action games feature Bomberman Hero, and racing fans can choose between Extreme G, Super Speed Race 64, and the fast-paced F-Zero X, with its unique ability to race up to 30 vehicles. Other genres are covered by Pachinko, 365 Days, Desaimon 3D, a game creation tool, and Star Soldier, Vanishing Earth, a 3D shooter. The page humorously notes the addictive nature of F-Zero X. This page is a perfect catalog of N64 software, showcasing a variety of games across different genres. It starts with Super Robot Spirits, a fighting game featuring popular anime robots like Voltes V and Shining Gundam, letting you pilot mechs in intense battles. Then there is Choro Q64, known internationally as Penny Racers, a fun racing game with cute miniature cars on diverse tracks. Next up is Rakuga Kids, a visually striking and comical action title. Following that is Super B-Daemon Battle Phoenix 64, based on the B-Daemon toy line, promising action-packed gameplay. Pokemon Stadium is featured, bringing the monster battling from the Game Boy to the N64 in full 3D. The catalog continues with 64 Trump Collection, Alice's Waku Waku Trump World, a card game compilation with an Alice in Wonderland theme, offering various types of Trump games. Iggy-kun no Bura Squared Boyan, an action game, looks to involve navigating towers using items and battling rivals. Let's Smash seems to be a tennis game, with customizable characters and minigames. Kyorato Kaiketsu 64 Tantaidan is presented as a detective board game, where you solve cases and pursue culprits. City Tour Grand Prix Zen Nihon GT Senshuken offers realistic racing with Japanese GT cars and circuits. Tetris 64 is shown as a version of the classic puzzle game, with a biosensor for heart rate detection to influence gameplay. And finally, Magical Tetris Challenge featuring Mickey combines Tetris with Disney characters for a charming puzzle experience. This magazine page highlights several N64 games from late 1998. Showcasing a diverse range of genres. Notable action-adventure titles include the highly acclaimed The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Banjo-Kazooie, praised for its visuals and freedom. Doraemon 2, Nobita and the Temple of Light is also featured. Puzzle game Weetrix is described as addictive, while Knife Edge offers thrilling jet coaster shooting. Fighting Cup stands out as a top-tier 3D fighting game with a unique battle system. The Etc. section includes Legend of the River King 64, Mario Artist, Communication Kit, and the innovative Pikachu Genki. Deichu, Hey You Pikachu. The TAB section also includes Getter Love, Woo! And AI Shogi 3. Finally, F1 World Grand Prix offers a realistic racing simulation. This page highlights a diverse selection of Nintendo 64 games. Genres range from snowboarding, King Hill 64, and 3D shooting, Buck Bumble, to party games, Mario Party, action platformers, Ganbare Goemon, Dero Dushu Obake Tenkomori, Chameleon Twist 2, and sports simulations, New Japan Pro Wrestling Tukon Duju 2, Snowspeeder, Mario Golf 64, J-League Tactics Soccer. Also featured as a board game. Bakushu Jinsei 64, Meze, Resort O. Finally, the page highlights the universally beloved Nintendo All-Star, Daron 2. Daron 2 Smash Bros., Super Smash Bros., emphasizing its simple mechanics and surprisingly deep gameplay. This magazine page previews several N64 games. SD Flying Dragon Legend is a fighting game with character-strengthening elements. Story of Seasons 2 enhances the original's farming simulation. Puzzle Bobble 64 offers arcade-style puzzle gameplay for up to 4 players. Castlevania 64 provides a challenging 3D experience. The Game of Life 64 brings the board game classic to the console. Hyperspace Knight Pro Baseball King 2 is a sports game with improved visuals, while Top Gear Overdrive offers American-style racing. 64 Grand Sumo 2 is a sumo wrestling game. Pokemon Snap lets players photograph Pokemon. Powerful Pro Baseball 6 focuses on charm with a University League setting. Parlor Pro 64 simulates pachinko and pachislo machines. Finally, Super Snowboard Kids returns with a new story mode and improved multiplayer features. This showcases various N64 games across different genres. Sports games include Super Bowling and NBA in the Zone 2. Jikyu-Gi Stable is a horse racing simulation. Pokemon Stadium 2 allows battles with original Pokemon. Action games include Last Legion UX with giant robots and Turok. Dinosaur Hunter, an upgraded shooting game. Role-playing games comprise Zool Magical Warrior Legend, an RPG with ally recruitment. LTL Monsters, focused on magic using giants. And the adventure game, New Century Evangelion, based on the anime. Finally, there are the monster raising game One Guy Monster and the strategy game Ogre Battle 64. Person of Lordly Caliber, a simulation game. Mario Golf 64 is a golf game featuring familiar characters. This Nintendo 64 preview roundup covers a diverse range of games. Action titles include PD Ultraman Battle Collection 64 with SD Ultraman Battles and Hybrid Heaven, a dark RPG with action combat. Sports fans have J-League 1999, Perfect Striker 2, Football, and Rally 99, a realistic racing game. Puzzle fans can look forward to Lode Runner 3D. Fighting games are represented by Kakuto Denshou, F-Cup Maniacs, while Bakuretsu Muteki Bangayo offers 2D shooting action. The Star Wars universe is represented with Episode 1, Racer and Rogue Squadron, a shooting game. Other titles include Densha de Go 64, a train simulator, Shadowgate 64, Trials of the Four Towers, a fantasy adventure, and Excitebike 64, an improved sequel with new features. This page highlights a selection of Nintendo 64 games. The lineup includes action titles like WINBCK, a 3D shooter, and Custom ROBO, a robot battle game. Beast Wars Metal 64 brings the anime's transforming characters to the console, while Star TYS offers a shooting experience with puzzle elements. Racing fans can enjoy VRALLY Edition 99, Beetle Adventure Racing, and Bomberman 2. Strategy is covered by Super Robot Wars 64, while Knight Raiders Killer Path provides a text adventure experience. For puzzle and card game enthusiasts, there's Puyo Puyon Party, 64 Hanafuda Angel's Promise, and Pro Mahjong Riot, 64 Challenge to the Strongest Battle. In 2000, despite the announcement of the GameCube, the N64 still saw a robust release schedule, with 29 software titles, 13 of which were Nintendo developed. Previews highlighted several upcoming games. Donkey Kong 64, an action game by Rare, featured the Kong family. Choro Q64 2 offered chaotic races with customizable vehicles. Akumaju Dracula, Mokushiroku Gaiden, Legend of Cornell, Castlevania 64, Legacy of Darkness, added new characters and stages. Requie. Robot Punkatsu 64 was an RPG involving robot battles, with Game Boy Color connectivity. Goemon Mononoke Sugoroku blended card and board game elements, and Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 Udu Keishao offered a comprehensive Japanese wrestling experience. Biohazard 2, Resident Evil 2, was a port of the PlayStation version, utilizing a large cartridge for content. Top Gear Rally 2 provided an authentic rally racing experience, and Top Gear Hyperbike offered bike racing. This page highlights a selection of Nintendo 64 games. Titles include Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, a cooperative action game where Kirby copies abilities, Bass Fishing and Bass Rush, realistic fishing games, Gauntlet Legends, a cooperative action RPG, Daikatana, a 3D shooter spanning 4 time periods, Idiosuke Meijin no Jisen Mahjong, a Mahjong game, Tantama Rintaru 64 Game Gallery, a puzzle game, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, a time-sensitive adventure, Suribito 64, another fishing game set in Hawaii, Excitebike 64, a race knee, Nippon, Olympic 2000, a sports game based on the Sydney Olympics. The page also mentions Kirby 64's popularity and development by HAL Laboratory. This page highlights the diverse library of N64 games, showcasing titles with both broad appeal and technical depth. Several games, like Smash Bros. And the Mario sports games, are accessible to all skill levels. Featured games include Mario Tennis 64, a simple yet fun tennis game, and Paper Mario, an action RPG. Mystery Dungeon. Shiren the Wanderer 2 offers roguelike gameplay, while Custom Robo 2 features robot customization and battles. Other notable titles include Mega Man Legends 2, Dance Dance Revolution, Disney Dancing Museum, Doraemon 3, Nobita's Town SOS, WWF WrestleMania 2000, Perfect Dark, Sin and Punishment, Banjo-Tooie, and Mario Party 3, each offering unique gameplay experiences and catering to various tastes. This catalog page showcases upcoming and available N64 games. Pokemon Stadium 2, compatible with Game Boy Pokemon games, was released in December. Mickey's Speedway USA, a racing game with Disney characters, was released in January. The page highlights the variety of N64 console colors available. Animal Crossing, Dobutsu no Mori, a communication game, and EcoDelt, a submarine puzzle game planned for February, are previewed. Modern Great Strategy Ultimate War, a war simulation game, is set for March, as is another Animal Crossing release. Animal Leader, an action game, is also slated for February. Other 2001 releases include Conker's Bad Fur Day, Sly Raccoon, and Baseball Basic Edition 2001. A timeline details the N64's history, including its 1996 release and the various console special editions released up to July 2000. This page details the 64DD software lineup for the Nintendo 64. Key titles include Doshin the Giant, a unique game where players control a giant on an island, Mario Artist Paint Studio and Talent Studio offering drawing and face importing functions, SimCity 64, a city building simulation, the F-Zero X expansion kit for custom course creation, Japan Pro Golf Tour 64, a realistic golf simulator, Doshin the Giant Liberation Front, Little Big Summons, a supporting disc, and Mario Artist Polygon Studio for 3D model creation. The page also covers 64DD peripherals, including the controller pack, rumble pack, 64GB pack, voice recognition microphone, memory expansion pack, and the 64DD itself, listing their functions, release details, and pricing. This page is an introduction to an N64 software catalog spanning from 1996 to 2001. It highlights the enduring appeal of the N64, mentioning that over 200 games are still enjoyed today, and expresses the hope that readers will find their favorite titles within the catalog. Screenshots include Pikachu from Pokemon Stadium, a fiery scene possibly from Glover, Mario in a cart from Mario Kart 64, Banjo-Kazooie, and a baseball game. This page is an article reflecting on the fate of the 64DD and the end of its RANnet service in February of the coming year. The article discusses the background of the 64DD, positioned as a large-capacity, rewritable, and affordable magnetic disc for the N64, intended to be its final trump card. It mentions that despite initial high expectations, the 64DD's release was repeatedly delayed. The article points out that while other consoles were adopting CDs, the 64DD offered advantages. However, delays and software development issues hampered its success. The article touches upon Nintendo's focus on the North American market after their 16-bit era success, contributing to the 64DD's delayed launch in Japan. The text references The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, noting its shift from being a planned 64DD disc title to a cartridge release, which became a global success selling over 6 million copies. The article concludes by discussing the lessons learned from the 64DD's failure, suggesting that Nintendo reflected on this experience when developing the GameCube and Game Boy Advance, and expresses hope for innovative new game formats in the future. The article is written by reporter Yutaka Obuchi, who is described as knowledgeable about both domestic and international games, and a networker. The Teach Me Guru section explains the N64's external AC adapter. The Guru clarifies that AC adapters are needed because homes use AC power, while consoles require DC power. The N64's adapter converts AC to the required 3.3 volts and 12 volts DC voltages. Other consoles, like the Dreamcast and PlayStation, often integrate the power conversion with more advanced and precise integrated circuits, leading to smaller internal power supplies. The N64's external adapter and lack of a fan may reflect cost-saving choices and different heat management strategies. The Guru of the Month section finds the Guru feeling reflective about aging and the passage of time. He feels sentimental seeing his son, and a bit unproductive with the end of the year approaching. He addresses a question about the Death Guru's location, which is revealed to be Tokyo, and explains the mark on his forehead is temporary. This page is from the Dream BBS section, a forum or user submission area. It features 2 user submissions related to their gaming experiences. The first submission, titled Mystery Falcon Core Explosion, is from a person in Kanagawa Prefecture. It recounts a story about mistaking police motorbike demo runs at school for Captain Falcon from F-Zero and his Falcon Core, due to the uniform colors resembling something they had seen before and the Falcon name association. It mentions the F-Zero series' Captain Falcon, and the user humorously realized their mistake. The second submission, titled Let's Go Second Crop / Double Cropping, is from ZEL's Mania in Tokyo. This person writes about finally getting Harvest Moon 64, despite initially being short on cash. They had some unexpected income and bought the game Harvest Moon 64 and are enjoying it with their family. They mention their wife and 2 children also enjoy playing, despite their own happiness in the game not being completely fulfilled. A screenshot from Harvest Moon 64 is included, showing a field in the game. Readers express strong opinions about Nintendo services. The Nintendo distrust proposal criticizes the 64DD and LandNet, citing unfulfilled promises, the console's failure, and prioritizing profit over user experience. The reader feels misled, especially considering games like F-Zero X Expansion Kit and Doshin the Giant. Thoughts on the end of LandNet service echoes these concerns, highlighting the betrayal felt by subscribers who invested in the 64DD based on promised online capabilities. They emphasize the limited software and lack of internet access, and the disappointment over anticipated titles like Zelda DD not being playable. Conversely, Future of Pokemon celebrates the franchise's success, its global impact, and its resilience after the Pokemon Shock incident. The reader hopes Nintendo will maintain quality control to ensure the series' continued success. Quote, the Dream Impressions section recommends Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth. Joy, an N64 fan, introduces the game to his sister Sandy. They discuss the game's action-oriented gameplay, developed by Treasure, and its connection to Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. The page also features reader submissions. One reader seeks advice on a friend obsessed with a song, while another inquires about questionnaire delivery. Other readers discuss topics like a Godzilla defeating Justice Pokemon, a sister wanting a Siren toy, a siblings GBC versus GBA purchase dilemma, Link's costume, and exam preparation advice for students. This page presents a price survey of N64 games in Akihabara, listing a wide range of titles and their prices. The page also highlights Rakuga Kids and Sonic Wings Assault as being particularly difficult to find for N64, despite their reputation. It notes that while many games have become cheaper, some are still scarce. Professional Baseball King 2 is mentioned as a well-made baseball game that is surprisingly hard to come by, and a screenshot from the game is shown featuring a baseball match between the Fukuoka Daiei Hawks and Yokohama Baystars teams. The next page displays software prices for both Nintendo 64 and Game Boy Color games sold in Akihabara. On the top half of the page is a list of Nintendo 64 games with details such as genre, standard price, Akihabara price, release date, publisher, player count, controller pack, rumble support, and battery backup compatibility. Games listed include Star Wars Episode 1, Racer, Star Fox 64, Banjo-Kazooie, and many more. The lower half of the page is a similar price list, but for Game Boy Color games. It includes columns for software name, standard price, Akihabara price, release date, and publisher, featuring titles such as Monster Rancher, various Pokemon games, and Dragon Quest games. This page advertises the Nintendo Power GB Writer, a service for downloading Game Boy games. It features several games, including action titles like Balloon Fight GB, and puzzle games such as Tetris Deluxe and Poochie Carrot. The page lists numerous other Game Boy titles across various genres, including action, RPGs, and puzzle games. The service is continuously adding new titles. The page also highlights the software of the month and announces that Super Famicom and Game Boy titles will be released alternately. This page is a final interview from the year 2000, a long interview reflecting on the 20th century, featuring Camelot and the Takahashi brothers. It seems to be looking back at the year 2000 in the context of the rocket start game industry, and specifically the success of Camelot's Mario Tennis 64, released on July 21st, which continued to sell well. Furthermore, it mentions Mario Golf GB, released on November 1st, which was also very successful. The interview appears to be a dream interview, concluding the 20th century, with these two individuals looking back on the game industry of 2000. The image below shows the two brothers holding up paddles with a cross and a circle, perhaps indicating their opinions or answers during the interview related to the question in the green speech bubble which asks, "Is it okay to become a Nintendo employee?" This page is an interview with Takahashi brothers and Uno, discussing the game industry as they entered the year 2000. They reflect on the launch of the PlayStation 2 and its impact, noting that it was a significant event in the industry. They mentioned that as game fans, they were curious about how the PS2 would perform. They also discussed the N64DD, acknowledging its rough start and the lateness of its release. They mentioned the Mario Tennis 64 as a game they worked on, and Giant Graham 2 as a good software title, but suggest it might not have quite fitted into the Nintendo world or expanded into a global market in the same way. They also touch upon the sales figures for the Game Boy Color, mentioning it sold over 1 million units by June 16th and was still performing well in Europe and Japan. The Takahashi brothers reminisce about the year 2000 and their experiences with Nintendo 64 games. They briefly touch upon Dragon Quest V-2 on PlayStation, acknowledging its technical advancements. Their main focus is on the N64. They discuss Donkey Kong 64, highlighting its difficulty, particularly the time constraints and complex puzzles, and how they eventually took over playing after Kami-san finished Banjo-Kazooie. They also mention their experience with The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, specifically their achievement of completing the Water Temple without the Zora Tunic, and praising Miyamoto's game design. They are currently playing The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, discussing the pressure of its 3-day time limit and the dynamic world. Screenshots of Donkey Kong 64 and Ocarina of Time are included. The conversation is overall a retrospective look at the enjoyment and challenges of N64 gaming. The next page is a final interview 2000, reflecting on the year of gaming and focusing on Mario Tennis 64. The interviewee discusses how well received Mario Tennis 64 has been by both adults and children, emphasizing its lasting appeal as a game that continues to be played. The conversation shifts to the challenges of creating 3D RPGs, mentioning how after Super Mario 64, there was a sense that anything was possible on the N64, yet 3D RPGs were proving to be particularly difficult. The interview then touches upon Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, as a highlight from 2000, before addressing the unfortunate news regarding Mother 3. It is revealed that Mother 3's development has been cancelled due to the risks and difficulties associated with creating a 3D RPG. The development team found it challenging to create a compelling 3D RPG experience and felt they couldn't reach the desired level of quality, especially in comparison to other N64 titles. Communication issues within the team, which was spread across different locations like Tokyo and the countryside, also contributed to the difficulties. The page includes a dedicated section titled Mother 3 Development Cancellation Notice, featuring a message expressing regret for the cancellation, aimed at fans who were looking forward to the game. It includes a photo and website address, www.1101.com, for further information regarding the cancellation and project details. In a 2000 interview, the Camelot brothers discussed the evolving game industry, emphasizing gameplay over cinematic ambitions, a sentiment reflected in the market's shift away from simply interesting games towards a focus on creator vision. They highlighted the GameCube and PS2, framing the GameCube as a return to core gaming principles, a machine purely for game enthusiasts. They believed the GameCube software offered a gameplay advantage over the PS2, despite the PS2's pursuit of realistic graphics. They found the PS2 lacking in pure gameplay value, as software was ultimately more important than hardware specs. Finally, they expressed enthusiasm for the Game Boy Advance and the potential of its upcoming game releases. This page is a final interview section featuring two individuals discussing their experiences with gaming, particularly on the N64 and Game Boy Advance. They talk about the Space World event and the unveiling of the GameCube. The interviewers expressed surprise at the enthusiastic reception of the GameCube at the event, especially since rumors suggested it wouldn't be showcased. One interviewer mentions feeling reassured, seeing the GameCube's positive reception. The discussion touches upon the concept of entertainment in Sydney, Australia, during a company trip. They describe a restaurant experience as entertainment and mention a surprisingly large size of prawns. The interviewers also discuss the enjoyment of minigames, citing Mario Party GB as an example. There's a segment about Dubutsu no Mori, Animal Forest, noting how it facilitates family communication through leaving messages in the game. They discuss scenarios where parents and children interact with the game and leave messages for each other. The interviewers briefly talk about future trends in gaming, expressing anticipation for new hardware in the industry. They also mention Mario Tennis 64 and discuss the 50-year-old Sydney Prawn as a memorable entertainment experience. A news flash section highlights the Nintendo Space World 2000 report, mentioning the unveiling of the GameCube. The text under the image mentions that the interviewer's Space World diaries are available on Camelot's homepage, and the photo is from Sydney. This page is an interview with the Takahashi brothers from Camelot, reflecting on the year 2000 and discussing their RPG, Golden Sun. They are looking back at the development of Golden Sun for the Game Boy Advance. They talk about how they always wanted to make an RPG, and how Golden Sun is a unique RPG with its own lineage, different from other RPGs like Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy. They mention that they were considering this style of RPG even before making their earlier game, Shining in the Darkness, on the Mega Drive, Genesis, in 1991. The interview highlights their approach to RPG creation, and their hopes for Golden Sun to be evaluated as a unique and original RPG experience. The page also features a picture of the Takahashi brothers looking at a document, and the title, Golden Sun, Unique Lineage of RPG, prominently displayed with festive bells. This page is a final interview from the year 2000 with two people, Takahashi brother and Takahashi older brother. They are discussing a new RPG, possibly for the Game Boy Advance, and refer to it as a text-type RPG. They mention the impressive graphics, comparing them to television quality, and highlighting the feeling of adventure in dungeons. They also mention Golden Sun as a concept, and the development team Camelot, and their previous game, Mario Tennis 64. Below the interview is a 64Dream Selects, Nintendo-related 10 Big News section, listing key Nintendo events. These include the announcement of the GameCube and Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy reaching 100 million units sold, the cancellation of the 64DD online service, and the halting of Mother 3 development. It also mentions Miyamoto and others becoming Nintendo directors, Nintendo's headquarters relocation, a record number of Nintendo software releases, the start of a Game Boy software rewriting service, Hanbo Yoshio transferring to software quality control, and the end of the Satellaview service in April. In an interview with 64Dream magazine, the Takahashi brothers, game creators, discuss their personal lives and work. They are referred to as President and Mr. Hideshi at work, but use familial terms like Aniki and Hide-chan privately. They enjoy leisure activities such as music, martial arts, golf, and gaming, with a preference for manga related to those interests. As left-handed individuals, they face minor inconveniences like bowling and fine riding. They drink moderately, with one brother recalling a past alcohol-related incident. Weighing around 55 to 56 kilograms, one brother aims to improve his health after a recent checkup. While they find it hard to identify a single major game development failure, they are proud of their rapid development speed. They are currently working on Golden Sun and are proud of their scenario writing skills, as well as Mario Golf. The interview also notes their athletic background, including the younger brother's bowling skill. A 2000 interview with the Takahashi brothers, developers from Camelot, reveals insights into their work. The older brother, valuing health over material possessions, fondly recalls a Puyo Puyo watch. The younger brother collects progressive rock CDs via Yahoo auctions. They discuss Mario Tennis 64, highlighting the creation of Waluigi, a character they developed and proposed to Nintendo. The younger brother also mentions his involvement in character design, including the inclusion of a character with no feet, which led to the choice of Teresa Boo. The older brother aspires to create successful RPGs. While they're fine with being called the Takahashi brothers, the younger brother humorously suggests Takahashi Meijin as a more fitting nickname. The younger brother simply replied, when asked for a message to users. The page includes images of the older brother's watch, a Yahoo auction search, and gameplay screenshots, as well as a memory of the younger brother receiving animation cells from Osamu Tezuka. The next page is a quiz-style interview with the Takahashi brothers from Camelot, reflecting on the year 2000. They are using O and X to answer questions about various topics. The questions cover their experiences working with Nintendo, their thoughts on Kyoto, and whether they ever considered quitting game development. They also touch upon more personal aspects like their dreams, times they've been angry at work, their desire for love, and if they feel appreciated by Camelot staff. Towards the end, they discuss the game Golden Sun, Ogon no Taiyo, expressing their ambition for it to surpass the Dragon Quest series, emphasizing the importance of user feedback in determining its success and aiming for high goals. This magazine page features an Ask Nintendo Q&A and other content. It includes a character data file on Boo, the shy ghost from the Mario series, detailing his debut in Super Mario Bros. 3. Nintendo answers a question about their 2001 plans, highlighting the release of the mobile adapter GB, the Game Boy Advance, and the GameCube, promising an exciting year for games. The page also introduces this month's navigator, Sao Hen, who discusses his digital camera and gaming habits. Finally, this month's one-shot provides a behind-the-scenes look at the editorial department, showing an exhausted deputy editor sleeping while working on a game strategy guide. The page also promotes the Nintendo Japan website, with various sections. Quote, "This page is a Q&A section focused on Nintendo hardware. It addresses questions about the sales of the N64 and Game Boy, noting that N64 sales are declining slightly, but Game Boy sales are strong and growing. They mention that domestic N64 sales are slightly down, but overseas sales, particularly in Europe, are doing well, driven by the popularity of Pokémon. In America, Pokémon Gold and Silver are mentioned as being huge. Regarding the GameCube, it's stated that the MPU is 32-bit, not 64-bit like the N64, but they emphasize that overall hardware balance is more important than just the bit number. Finally, they confirm that the price for the GameCube is yet to be decided, but an announcement is expected around May's E3 event, indicating news will likely emerge around the world's largest game show in May. This page is an Ask Nintendo section answering fan questions. One question asks if a 64GB pack will be released for the GameCube, to which Nintendo replies, "It is undecided, but they have announced the GameCube GBA cable, and this might become the main focus." Another question asks about upcoming N64 titles, and the answer states that new titles are still undecided, mentioning Animal Crossing and Dubutsu Banchao as titles scheduled for February and March. Inquiring about Rare's next N64 game after Banjo-Tooie, Nintendo reveals it is Mickey's Racing Challenge USA, set for release on January 21st, a racing game recommended for fans of Mario Kart 64 and Diddy Kong Racing. The page clarifies that Hudson has been involved in Mario Party since the first title, combining their board game expertise with Nintendo characters. Finally, regarding buying a 64DD now, Nintendo states it's likely impossible, as the 64DD was intended for business use, and sales were discontinued due to poor performance and low membership for the RANnet service. The page also features screenshots from Mickey's Racing Challenge USA, and an image of a GameCube connected to 2 Game Boy Advances, and an image of Conker from Conker's Bad Fur Day. This page is a Nintendo Q&A corner focused on the Game Boy Advance. It answers 4 reader questions. The first question is about when pre-orders for the Game Boy Advance will start, and the answer is that Nintendo decides this, and it will likely be sometime after the announcement period, with retail stores like Lawson and Toys R Us being the places to check around February. The second question asks about the weight of the Game Boy Advance, and the answer is that it is almost the same weight as the Game Boy Color, at approximately 140 grams without batteries, and around 200 grams with batteries and a game cartridge inserted, making it easy to carry. The third question is about why previous Game Boy communication cables can't be used with Game Boy Advance software, and the answer is due to the dramatically increased data volume required, which is needed for simultaneous multiplayer in games like Mario Kart Advance. Finally, the fourth question asks how long the Game Boy Advance lamp stays red before the battery dies, and the answer is that it varies with temperature, but when the lamp turns red, indicating 20-30% battery remaining, it means the battery is getting low. It's mentioned that with alkaline batteries, a red light for 20% battery life equals roughly 2 hours of playtime. The page also features images of the Game Boy Advance, its communication cable, and advertisements for Nintendo 64 pre-orders in stores, showing Mario on the promotional material. This page is from the Ask Nintendo section of the magazine, and features a series of questions and answers. Question 15 asks why the Game Boy Color version of Zelda was released earlier in February. The answer is that Nintendo wanted to release as many Game Boy Color titles as possible before the new Game Boy Advance hardware came out in March. Question 16 is about the legendary Starfy for Game Boy Color, asking about its status. The response states that the release is still undecided, although it was highly praised at Space World. Question 17 asks about the Donkey Kong 2001 commercial. The answer reveals that Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong costumes will appear in the CM. Papaya Suzuki and Oyaji dancers are mentioned as being involved in the commercial, which is scheduled to air from around January 13th. Question 18 is about Ichiro Suzuki joining the Seattle Mariners. The answer comments on the good timing for this. coinciding with the completion of Nintendo's new headquarters. Finally, question 19 asks about the new Nintendo headquarters. The response is positive, saying it's great, but moving is proving to be a big task. The page also includes images of Link from Zelda, the character Starfy, Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong costumes, and the band Oyaji Dancers. This page is from the Nintendo question box section and features a Q&A about Nintendo's new headquarters. Question 20 asks about the most convenient aspect of the new office, and the answer highlights the employee cafeteria, noting its larger size and the availability of warm lunches, a significant improvement over the previous bento box system. It is so popular it can get crowded during lunch breaks. Question 21 addresses whether tours of the new office are possible, and the answer is a firm no. It clarifies that neither the old nor the new headquarters offer tours. The new office lacks production facilities or exhibits and emphasizes security, particularly around software development areas. Question 22 inquires about the fate of the old Nintendo office. The response indicates it will remain as is for the time being, with no concrete plans for its future use yet decided. There's a mention of potentially preserving older buildings and the idea of a game museum in the future, although nothing is confirmed, due to its residential location and limited vehicle access. This page announces the end of the 64DD LANnet service, which concluded on February 28, 2001. The article explains that this network service, designed for the N64 and its peripherals, was ending due to various reasons, including the limited number of compatible software titles. Initially launched in December 1999, the LANnet service aimed to provide unique online experiences. The article mentions games that were expected to utilize the 64DD capabilities like Mother 3, Super Mario RPG 2, and Pokémon Stadium. There's also a section discussing the DT project, initially intended to connect Game Boys to the 64DD, but ultimately changed to be solely a Game Boy-focused release. The page features screenshots including a notice of the LANnet service termination, a scene from The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, and an illustration of the 64DD and Game Boy connectivity concept with the DT project. This page is showcasing upcoming and popular Pokémon merchandise from late 2000. The Pokémon Kids Series 2 Part 3 is highlighted as a very popular item with 13 different figures available. Pokémon Friends 11 features cute plush toys with 7 types available. Afro Dodogu introduces unique Afro hairstyle dog plush toys in 5 styles. There are also details of new Pokémon goods being released from the Mori Gang illustrations, such as a cassette box for storing Game Boy cartridges holding up to 20 games, and a Pokémon pouch or Pokémon Kinchaku, which comes in Pikachu and Meowth designs. Finally, the page announces that The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask has won the Multimedia Grand Prix 2000 award. The award ceremony was held on December 7th. The article mentions that Mr. Aonuma, who was involved in the development as director, was present at the ceremony. This month's recommendations from Mario Club highlight 5 N64 and Game Boy Color games. Pokémon Stadium Gold and Silver, compatible with Crystal version, offers extensive battle modes, minigames, and enhanced features via the mobile adapter GB. Pokémon Crystal version, for the Game Boy Color, adds new Pokémon, character gender selection, time-based events, and improved graphics. Mario Party 3 for the N64 introduces duel and battle royale maps with a focus on multiplayer board game fun. Dance Dance Revolution Disney Dancing Museum provides a Disney-themed arcade experience with simple controls and 22 songs. Finally, Banjo-Tooie for the N64, the sequel to Banjo-Kazooie, presents a comical world with shooting stages and multiplayer minigames. This page highlights the chaotic presence of King Bombi at the 64Dream editorial office, showing pictures of an inflatable King Bombi figure causing trouble and being confronted by staff. The page also features Kudo Asagi as today's cast, promoting Momotaro Dentetsu 1 right, pointing arrow 2, and holding the game box. There is also a section with Bonbi and Mach, which seems to continue the King Bombi theme and mentions the 5th generation Momotaro from Momotaro Dentetsu 1 right pointing arrow 2 special package. There is an announcement for the Next Generation World Hobby Fair being held at 4 locations across Japan in early 2001, showcasing N64 and Game Boy games. The dates and locations for Tokyo, Fukuoka, Osaka, and Nagoya are listed. In business news, Nintendo's 9-month interim financial results are reported, noting strong sales due to the Game Boy and Pokémon software, despite N64 sales being slightly down compared to the previous year. A news brief from Turkey reports a 24-hour broadcast ban on Pokémon anime due to concerns over children imitating character actions, specifically jumping from heights. Finally, a new product announcement introduces Mr. Driller candy and gummy sweets from Canro, featuring Mr. Driller character packaging and flavors. This page is all about the Game Boy Color game Bakunetsu Dodgeball Fighters, which translates to something like Explosive Dodgeball Fighters. It's a dodgeball game from Atlas, set for a spring 2001 release, and the price is still undecided. The page details the survival dodgeball mode, which is the core of the game. You eliminate the opposing team by hitting them with balls until only one team remains. It highlights special moves, special passes, and cooperative techniques as key to victory, emphasizing communication for multiplayer battles. We are introduced to characters like Captain Ryutaro Sakura and manager Ayane no Kinohara. Ryutaro is the captain of a strong national team aiming to be #1 in Japan. Ayane is the manager, described as energetic and caring, managing the team's condition and training. The game features 50 different types of special shots. The page emphasizes that mastering these special shots, alongside regular shots and catches, is vital for winning. It mentions special shots from outfield players as well, and that pass combinations with shots are also crucial techniques. Screenshots illustrate gameplay and different special shot types, like Kansu shoot, where the ball stops on impact, and wide shoot, that moves across the opponent's court. The page points out that understanding player stats, ball control, and shot strength are important for strategic character assignments. This page is about Dragon Quest II for the Game Boy Color, a highly popular RPG. It highlights the job change system at the Dharma Shrine, available after level 20, where stats are halved but skills are retained, encouraging strategic character development. The page introduces the powerful Sage class, achievable through special training, noting it's a strong class despite slow leveling. 2 party formation examples are provided, recommending balanced teams including warrior, priest, and wizard. Tips for adventurers are also given, such as saving money on lodging by returning to the hero's home and thoroughly checking pots and drawers within buildings for hidden items. The screenshots illustrate gameplay elements and various character classes available in the game. The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages, begins with Link escorting Impa to protect the singer Nayru. A dark sorceress named Varan, aiming to control time, appears and possesses Nayru, sending them both to the past, leaving Link to save her. The games use a link system, completing either Oracle of Seasons or Oracle of Ages, and then playing the other allows for password entry, carrying over your name, starting with 4 hearts, and unlocking exclusive content, guest characters, and altered starting equipment. The game features new characters like Captain Syrup. Screenshots showcase gameplay, including bomb and candle usage, puzzle solving, and glimpses of in-game events. One screenshot highlights the greedy Queen Agambi and the forced construction of a tower, causing unhappiness among the townspeople. This page is showcasing Donkey Kong 2001, which is likely Donkey Kong Country. It mentions it's for Game Boy Color and is described as a powerful Donkey Kong game where Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong embark on a big adventure to retrieve bananas stolen by the Kremling gang. The page highlights features like collecting stickers, which can be printed using a pocket printer connected via a communication cable, or even through infrared communication and shared with friends. There are different sticker types, including game scenes, Donkey Kong characters, Kremlings, and even alphabet letters. The article also mentions bonus games, like fishing for fish while riding an Angarde, accessible in adventure mode by collecting 50 coins. The page also introduces King K. Rool, who is described as the villain who has once again kidnapped the bananas and imprisoned Diddy Kong. The screenshots show various gameplay scenes including jungle environments, water levels, and minecart sections. It also mentions using tires to defeat large enemies and utilizing barrels to traverse stages. The game features familiar elements, such as swinging on vines and riding in minecarts, and promises a great adventure. This page features 2 Game Boy Color RPGs. The top section is about Momotaro Densetsu 1 Right Pointing Arrow 2, released on January 1, 2001, for 4,300 yen. It's advertised as a 21st century first sale. The article shows a map detailing locations like Hanasaka Village, Narabi Cave, Kintan Hermit's Cave, Susume's Inn, and Momotaro's house. The goal of the game is to reach Hanasaka Village, defeat the Silver Oni, and bring flowers to withered trees, along with rescuing a dog companion. Screenshots depict in-game dialogue, exploration, and turn-based battles. The bottom section introduces Grandia Parallel Trippers, released December 22nd for 4,500 yen. It details the story of Yuhi, the protagonist who is lost in the world of Grandia. Players are tasked with aiding Yuhi and his numerous companions, with a total of 28 characters appearing. The adventure takes place across ancient ruins and sky cities. Screenshots showcase various characters, battle gameplay, and dialogue scenes. This page introduces 2 Game Boy Color games. The top section is about Anime Master GB, a relay race game where players form teams of creatures called anima to compete. The game involves strategic team building based on terrain and anima abilities. The anima system explained here details how speed stats and dice rolls determine movement. Chance cards and online features like Animate.net for trading and battling are also mentioned. Screenshots show gameplay interfaces, character stats, and course selection. The bottom section previews Doluruaga, an RPG, providing stage-by-stage strategy hints for the early parts of the game. It covers worlds 1, 2, and 3, giving brief tips for various stages within each world, such as Slime Cave and Goblin Cave in World 1, Nowell's Cave and Death Sand Sahel in World 2, and Rajaf Village and Harkus Town in World 3. The hints are concise and suggest strategies for overcoming enemies and stage challenges. This page highlights 4 Game Boy Color titles. First, Pocket King, a strategy game where you build a monster army to defeat the Demon King. It's set in the King of Kings world and emphasizes strategic gameplay. Next, True Goddess Reincarnation Trading Card Summoner, a trading card game based on the Shin Megami Tensei series. Players become summoners, collect demon cards, and engage in card battles. Then there's Laughing Dog Adventure Silly Go Lucky, based on the Laughing Dog TV series. Here, you play as a TV director, create TV programs through minigames, and aim for high TV ratings. Finally, Cute Pet Shop Story 2 is a pet shop simulation game where you raise pets, serve customers, and manage your shop. This sequel features new animals and communication features, allowing players to breed pets and compete in contests. This page is dedicated to game previews and information. The top section previews Henteko Machine Grand Prix Race, a Game Boy Color racing game based on the anime Wacky Races. It highlights the chaotic nature of the races, where all sorts of crazy machines appear on screen, creating unpredictable mayhem. The next section showcases GB Hard Robots, a Game Boy Color RPG, where you can combine items to create robots. It details 4 robots: Blend Power, Picor, King Exciser, and Star GGG, each with a description of how to obtain them by combining specific items such as Organic Crown, Anchor, Kaiser Brace, and Approval Circuit. The page continues with Kindaichi Case Files 10-Year-Old Summons, a Game Boy Color adventure game. This is a mystery-solving game in the style of a detective novel, where the protagonist receives a strange letter and must solve a series of murders. The screenshots depict dialogue and investigation scenes, emphasizing the text-based adventure gameplay. Finally, the bottom right section introduces Da! 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 A Game Boy Color game aimed at girls, based on a popular manga. It's described as a game where you can play mini-games and fortune-telling, create name cards to exchange with friends, and collect graphics in an album. The screenshots show gameplay scenes with card battles and dialogue. The Go Forth Mario Bodyguard Core page, a Christmas-themed Mario Parent Edition, features a fan-submitted illustration special Hall of Fame. Artwork includes Dairy in Black by Tekka-san, a Christmas scene with elf-like characters referencing Krimiya-san's horse racing event by Nikujaga-san, a Pokemon-themed illustration by Asagi Kisaragi, Shiren the Wanderer art by Mecha-san, Link and Zelda kissing by Minazuki Yayoi-san, also referencing the horse racing event, Link fighting an Iron Knuckle by Rajen-san, a Yoshi story illustration by Kut-san, Zelda characters with a fairy by Aoshiro Saori-san, another Christmas Zelda scene by Nekokichi-san, and a gray-haired female character by Yuki. Entries vary in theme and style, showcasing a variety of art styles and references to various video game series. This page is showcasing fan art submissions from readers under the banner Mario Fan Task Force. The top section features Christmas-themed fan art. One drawing is titled Christmas Present from My Older Sister to Romani, and shows a cute girl with a teddy bear surrounded by cookies, hinting at a sweet Christmas gift. Another artwork is about Zelda and depicts two Link characters sharing a Christmas cake, mentioning it's a Deku Tree stump-style cake made by Saria. There's also a Mother 2 themed Christmas illustration showing Ness and Paula in winter clothes, wishing Merry Christmas, and another Christmas-themed artwork featuring characters in winter clothing. Below, in the Illustrations Under 10 Years Old section, are more fan drawings. These include Mario characters like Mario, Luigi, Wario, Waluigi, and other Nintendo characters such as Kirby, Pikachu, and a character that seems to be from Sin and Punishment. The bottom section is titled Illustration Fan Letter and features fan letters with more artwork. One letter mentions drawing Link from Zelda and liking his cool look. Another artwork appears to be from the Ogre Battle series, featuring a character and mentioning the Ogre series fans. This page features reader artwork celebrating the 20th century, showcasing iconic characters from various video game franchises. Several submissions depict characters like Dragon Quest heroes, Mario, Link, Yoshi, and Kirby, with 20th century banners. Artists express nostalgia, drawing characters they loved, such as Rock and Dory from Dragon Quest, and reflecting on their impact. One artist portrays characters running towards the 21st century, while another associates Kirby with the memories of the century. A collaborative piece, Collaboration of Hearts, in the style of Earthbound, was created by 4 artists around the theme of parental bonds. A 20th century fan letter parade depicts a group of beloved characters thanking the 20th century. The next page of Mario Parents Inspection is filled with 4-panel comic strips submitted by readers based on Nintendo games. One comic strip features a futuristic-looking Mario watching Perfect Dark on TV, seemingly reacting to the gameplay. There's a strip with Princess Peach playing tennis and being concerned about looking fashionable in her sun visor. Another funny comic shows a vampire version of Mario being offered a red chili pepper, with a punchline about the importance of saving progress in games. In a Mother 2 or Earthbound comic, Ness and Porky are in a typical argument ending with Ness's victory cry. A Luigi comic shows Daisy protecting Luigi from Waluigi and questioning Waluigi's role. A Zelda comic depicts Link facing Ganondorf, but Ganondorf appears scared, making it a comical encounter. Finally, a Pokemon comic discusses Dragonite, with the character pondering if Gyarados looks more like a dragon-type Pokemon. One of the submitters added a note about their Luigi and Waluigi comic, mentioning being surprised by Waluigi's red nose and describing a comical fight scenario. This page showcases fan art submissions from readers. There is fan art for Wonder Project J2, featuring characters from the game and mentioning the artist is from Aichi Prefecture. There is art for Fire Emblem, with characters, and a note of thanks to the artist. A colorful Yoshi Story fan art is also present. Another section shows Christmas-themed fan art, mentioning the artist used G-Pen and comic colors. There is Mario Tennis 64 fan art, with a focus on the character's expression. Fan art of Princess Zelda, from The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, is featured, described as a realistic version of Zelda. Continuing down, more fan art appears, including Kirby characters and another The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time piece featuring Link receiving an item as a gift. A serious-looking anime-style character features in another fan art submission, with the artist mentioning Tactics Ogre. There is also fan art of a female anime-style character. Fox McCloud from Star Fox 64 is depicted in another submission. More fan art includes cartoon characters, and a Mario Tennis 64 fan art showing a female character playing tennis, mentioning it's the GB version. Another, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time piece depicts Link and a fairy. Finally, there's Pokemon fan art of Raichu and Pikachu, and more anime-style character art, and a final The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time fan art featuring Link. The page highlights that these are fan submissions and reader contributions. This page is showcasing fan art submissions for Mario Guard Force. There's a variety of illustrations featuring different Nintendo characters and game themes. One artwork is of Santa Link, with the artist from Tokyo Metropolis wondering what presents he's bringing, referencing The Legend of Zelda. Another is a CG illustration of bomb soldiers, possibly Mario-related, from an artist in Kanagawa Prefecture, suggesting it would make a good postcard. A cutout Luigi illustration is also featured, praised for its nose detail, submitted from Osaka Prefecture. Fan art for Sin and Punishment is popular this month, with an artist from Hyogo Prefecture calling them amazing and cool. There's also an illustration inspired by Tactics Ogre from Hokkaido. A cute drawing of Fuken and Hapenasu, Blissey from Pokemon, comes from Tokyo Metropolis. A piece dedicated to Link and Midna from The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess is submitted by an artist in Chiba Prefecture who calls themselves Moonwolf. Another artist from Yamaguchi Prefecture created a mushroom-headed character hunting Pichu, focusing on shading techniques and mushroom observation, referencing Pokemon. Lastly, a Pikachu-inspired drawing born from the Pikachu boom at home is from Niigata Prefecture, again referencing Pokemon. The page also lists this month's rank advancement achievers in various categories, indicating a ranking system for contributors. And finally, there's information on illustration recruitment, outlining guidelines for submitting fan art, including size and submission details. The next page features a Dream Hall of Fame section focusing on 3 Nintendo 64 games. First, for Mario Party 3, it describes how to unlock hidden maps and content. It details unlocking the dual map Reverse Kun map and the Battle Royal map Wally Do by meeting certain conditions in Story Mode and Party Mode. It also explains how to access the Gamble Room in Story Mode by obtaining the Miracle Star. Next, for Custom Robo V2, it provides tips on how to easily forge weapons. It mentions going to Nakano Village using the Oidera vehicle, acquiring 1500 Gitan, and then giving weapons to Mamo to be forged in the dungeon and returning to the village afterwards. Finally, for Shiren the Wanderer 2, it discusses how to obtain good items using Omamori, incantations. It lists several incantations and their effects, like getting revitalization grass, white paper scrolls, or brotherly grass. It explains that to get these incantations, you need to visit the Natanemura shrine and ask the Hisho Daruma, emphasizing that you can only ask about each incantation once. This page details dream techniques for various Nintendo 64 games. For Custom Robo V2, it explains how to unlock the Hikoku Robo robot by completing the Great Cup and defeating PETA. Information on mystery options reveals that clearing easy and hard modes unlocks additional options. Perfect Dark's Battle Arena stage has a hidden spot in the factory area's long corridor, accessible by climbing stairs and waiting by a pillar. Mystery Dungeon. Shiren the Wanderer 2's Silent Path 2 dungeon features strong winds that force players back to the village if they stay on a floor too long. Mega Man Legends unlocks a difficult mode by completing the game and restarting within 3 hours. The page also contains a call for submissions for the Dream Techniques section, offering prizes and including a humorous example. This page highlights a selection of lesser-known but excellent N64 games. It features 3 titles. First is a fighting game named F-Cup Maniacs, noted for its ring-out system, special moves, and point-based battles, described as a top-tier fighting experience. The screenshot shows a typical fighting game scene, with health bars and action. Next is Wetris, a puzzle game where you manipulate blocks and water, considered a puzzle game that pushes boundaries. The image shows the game's block-based puzzle gameplay with water elements. Lastly, Densha de Go 64 is featured, a train driving simulator praised for its beautiful autumn and snowy scenery, voice control, and challenging difficulty. Screenshots showcase train tracks and the game's interface. There is also a section with comments from the Shopping Street chairman, discussing games like Dragon Quest II, and another area where the writer talks about buying games released by January 21st, mentioning Card Hero as a title they are considering playing. A side note mentions a few other games related to mystery solving and convenience stores, including Bakuretsu Muteki Bengayo. This page is from the Retro Game Lover page FC Dream section and focuses on the Family Basic and how to create original games with it. It describes Family Basic as a program language for making games on the Famicom, even for simple games with characters like Mario. It highlights 5 key functions including a calculator board, message board for text input practice, music board for music creation, and a computer fortune-telling feature using biorhythms. The article also mentions Family Basic V3, which has increased memory capacity and expanded BASIC commands and features. It concludes by discussing a dedicated data recorder for Family BASIC, mentioning a sample program collection tape is included with it. This page is focused on Gathering Bug Academy, or GBA, and interviews the developers Camelot. This month's CG illustration section is a Spot the Difference puzzle where readers are asked to identify 3 Watanabe-sans in the picture, with a hint that one is wearing a white jumper. The Who Are the Takahashi Brothers section introduces the Takahashi brothers, Hirohide and Shugo, mentioning they are very close, athletic, and skilled in golf, tennis, skiing, and bowling. They also seem to be very interested in Camelot's games, especially golf games. The article details the interview with Camelot, the developers of Mario Tennis 64 and Mario Golf 64, highlighting their approach to game development, where they seriously enjoy making games. It also mentions an upcoming interview article in the next issue. The How section talks about Shy Guy and how Mario Tennis 64 and Mario Golf 64, which feature Shy Guy and Bowser, are memorable games developed by Camelot. Lastly, the Gashawker section at the bottom discusses the mysterious Gashawker organization, who are receiving secret orders from Dr. E to gather the latest information on Golden Sun, released internationally, a Game Boy Advance game developed by Camelot. The article expresses surprise at the Gashawker's orders. This page is a humorous manga strip featuring a character with a key on his head who seems to be trying to get information about the Game Boy Advance within a company, likely Camelot. He is depicted being sneaky to obtain development materials for the GB Advance, which are heavily guarded by the Takahashi brothers. The character is then comically hit by a bowling ball from behind while trying to play golf inside the company, apparently during the Takahashi brothers' bowling practice. He's surprised by the bowling ball and feels cheated. The scene transitions to him facing bowling pins, confused about a disappearing magic ball. The text implies that after failing to get the GBA information, the character and the Gashawker members, possibly his team, are going to have a reflection meeting at an all-you-can-eat meat restaurant. The page concludes by saying, "This report is about the GBA." There's also a small panel showcasing the Game Boy Advance, noting its secretive nature since Space World and the lack of information available about software and development. 64Dream magazine is holding a Reader's Prize giveaway. Prizes are provided by various game companies. In the 64Dream section, winners can receive N64 games like Banjo-Kazooie, Mario Party 3, or choose any available N64 or Game Boy game. The Camelot and 64Dream section offers signed Mario Tennis GB merchandise, including Game Boy Color copies, illustrations, strategy guides, and tennis sponge balls, all signed by the Takahashi brothers. Capcom prizes include Mega Man 64 for N64 and Mega Man Xtreme for Game Boy Color. Enix is giving away Command Master for Game Boy Color with its strategy guide. Japan offers Mario-themed rucksacks and bags, while Hudson is giving away King Bomber mobile phone straps. To enter, readers must send in a postcard with the product number and name by January 19, 2001. Winners will be announced in the April issue, released in February. This reader questionnaire from a magazine focuses on N64 and Game Boy Advance games. It solicits feedback on the current issue, specifically the cover and articles, using the table of contents as a reference. Articles discussed include game rankings, software calendars, and features on specific titles. Games mentioned for N64 include Perfect Dark and Mega Man Legends, while upcoming titles encompass Conker's Quest and Super Black Bass 64. GBA games mentioned include Castlevania, Circle of the Moon, Golden Sun, and F-Zero for Game Boy Advance. The questionnaire also announces the winners of a prize draw. Finally, readers are asked to name their most anticipated and disappointing N64 software from a perfect catalog. A small column is also included, providing personal content. The March issue of the 64Dream magazine, dedicated to N64 and Game Boy fans, will be released on January 20, 2001 for 490 yen. It includes contact information for the editorial department and details on back issues. Upcoming content teases a Game Boy Advance feature and Doriteki's Palace. The editor's notes discuss various topics, including travel, new hardware, and the end of the century. The staff list is provided. The previous February issue, released December 21, 2000, is advertised with contact details. The magazine promotes the February issue's availability. Bonus items include a Pokemon Crystal Attack Guide and a thick Pokemon Stadium Gold and Silver Guide with a Dragon Quest II map. A Rokuyan Dream Diary comic strip featuring Mario and Luigi is included. This page is an advert for the Japanese release of Banjo-Kazooie 2, which is known as Banjo-Kazooie, Tooie in English. The advert features a large image of Banjo and Kazooie, with Japanese text exclaiming, "Those bears are back again." It highlights new actions in the game, with a text box saying, "New actions," and another stating, "New special actions have been added to defeat enemies." There's also mention of lots of puzzles, and a new feature where Mumbo can adventure, suggesting Mumbo Jumbo is a playable character in some sections. Minigames are also promoted with the text, "Lots of minigames too," highlighting that the game has 4-player excitement. The advert also shows a small image of the game box and lists the manufacturer's suggested retail price as 6,800 yen, excluding tax. The game is advertised as being on sale now. This page is an advertisement page featuring a quiz titled Succubus's Question. The quiz consists of 3 questions using pixel art images related to games to answer. The page also promotes the Game Boy Color game Com Dungeon 2, The Black Mark, showcasing the game logo and 2 anime-style characters likely from the game. The advertisement mentions answering the Succubus's question to win original goods.